Quinn practiced today. I would say if I had to put a report out, he'd be questionable for Saturday, but we'll see how he goes throughout the week and monitor how he responds to tomorrow coming off of today's practice. And DeAndre Moore practiced today as well. He's got to do enough to show me he can play. I know that's probably not the answer you wanted, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. It's not, we've got a game plan. Can he execute the game plan? I hate to pare it down to that, but that's really the truth. Again, I want to make sure he's healthy enough to play at a high level, and can he go operate the game plan that we have in place for him? So that's why I kind of need to see how he responds from today's work, and then what it looks like on a Tuesday, then a Wednesday, which are pretty heavy days for him, and then how he rebounds on Thursday, so on and so forth. So it's going to be kind of a work in progress. But today was a good start. I was actually impressed of where he was today. But that's been part of kind of his trajectory since the injury happened. I feel like he keeps getting, incrementally better day by day.
That was, of course, head coach Steve Sarkisian talking about his starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, and his injury recovery from the abdominal strain he suffered against UTSA a couple weeks ago. Hi, welcome into Horns Report. I'm Billy Gates, and here to talk about Ewers' injury update, I guess, and then how Arch Manning played last weekend is KXAN Sports Director Roger Wallace. Thanks for joining me, Roger. That's kind of what we expected from Sark today, right? I mean, obviously Monday, very early in the week. You don't want to maybe tip your hand at, if Ewers is going to play or not. He practiced. Sark said he looked good, but this kind of seemed like the obvious answer we were going to get.
Yeah, I guess the encouraging part is he said he practiced. Now, to what extent? Yeah. He practiced, we don't know. And let's be honest. I think in a perfect world, they get by Mississippi State, have a week off, and then you have a Quinn Ewers with 3 weeks of recovery under his belt. But if it's just pain tolerance, then it's kind of in Quinn's hands. So I think he mentioned Thursday. We talked about it, and then again today. He thinks the progress has been maybe faster than they thought. Mm-hmm. So it seems very encouraging. Whether or not he thinks it's worth it to go out there on Saturday remains to be seen.
From my personal perspective, obviously this is speculation, but I would think if he's healthy enough to play Saturday, he at least starts the game. If they end up running it up on Mississippi State, which, I mean, the Bulldogs haven't looked good this season, but then again, they are an SEC opponent. So it's one of those things where, I think if he's healthy enough, he's going to end up playing at least a half, 3/4. We'll see where the score goes, but I kind of think he's going to play.
Well, that kind of speaks to maybe football against other sports. There's no load management really in football. If they leave him, if he's going to play, Sark's got to believe in his mind he can go 60 minutes. He can be in a fourth quarter game and all the things. You can't go in thinking, all right, I'm going to pull him after a half. But I hear you on that. And that goes back to what he said when was kind of pressed on what will the decision be up to. And he said if he can run the offense and execute the game plan, which they'll find out even more so tomorrow and Wednesday. Those are the heavy practice days, Tuesday and Wednesday. But to your point, if he can do it, I think they'll trot him out there and play. Yeah. In a perfect world, he plays, and then things are comfortable, and Arch gets some more snaps.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think if it's close and there is any kind of risk that it could get worse, then I think they hold him out another week, which is essentially holding him out another 2 weeks. What would be really odd is if they don't start him, Arch struggles, something goes wrong, and they have to bring him in. And then you're in a tough kind of savior spot. So it'll be interesting. But Wednesday they have to put out an injury report.
That was where I was headed next. You read my mind, Roger.
Yeah, the new SEC rules. Sark said today, he was pretty clear. It's for the gamblers, so they're not calling his student trainers, and information's leaking. And then he quickly said, we're not exactly sure how each program, how truthful they'll be. Again, you can put him as questionable. That's what he said again today. So I think that's what he'll show up on that Wednesday injury report is questionable.
Yeah, and you kind of
I steal your thunder?
No, a little bit. But I just want to say, as we were listening to Sarkisian talk about that sort of, why the SEC implemented this injury report, do student managers get a ton of phone calls from people?
Oh, I think they do.
How are you getting a college kid's number?
When you think about leaks, Billy, you think about student managers, student trainers, and you think about officials.
Yeah.
Because they have officials at practice. And who are the people that maybe aren't 100% invested in a program and in the training camp?
Yeah.
Parents. They show up at some practices, some scrimmages, but I think 100% there are people out there that, somebody gets in their ear and I don't know what, benefit they get out of it other than feeling like they're kind of on the inside.
Sure.
But I don't think there's any question that goes on.
that was just like, I'm just imagining like some like sophomore like student equipment manager like talking to like Pete Thamel or somebody or some like Action Network person or some gambling person that's like just piping them all this information and like you're just going to take that for what it is. Like
there's a lot of people at practice, Billy.
Right? Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential sources, if you will.
Sure. Yes. Yes. Sources.
That's right.
Sources. Just kind of shifting a little bit to Arch's first start. I remember after the game when he was talking with the media, he just said it felt long. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek, sort of like a dry sense of humor type thing, just because he'd never started a game before, his first career start. I thought it looked like a first start to me. He was up and down. Obviously, the talent's there. Obviously, you're going to need more of a seasoned product to continue throughout the season. But I mean, 258 yards, a couple touchdowns, a couple picks. The second pick wasn't exactly his fault. It went through the receiver's hands. But, I mean, Roger, what did you think of Arch's first time starting a college football game?
Kind of that. A little bit of everything. You're going to see flashes. Sark said that they had a call sheet that had a lot of shots, deep balls in it. So it wasn't by accident. It wasn't just Arch. The old schoolyard, you go long. These were
a game of 500.
These were plays, and I think young quarterbacks, that's the most comfortable throw they feel is just airing it out and hoping your guy can go make a play. And then we saw it late in the third quarter, and Sark said it, and we talked about this on the radio and the broadcast too, as we thought he would get some more quarterback-friendly throws in there, build up his confidence, his percentage, and get some rhythm. And we saw it where he hit Jonte Cook on a crosser. He dumped one out of the backfield. I think he got Silas Bolden, but and then got more of a rhythm. But it's kind of what I expected. You don't expect turnovers, but when you got a guy that wants to be aggressive and make plays, that's when they tend to happen.
Yeah, and I thought it was taking all those shots. I mean, he hits that first one to Wingo, I believe, right? 57-yarder, or that was Isaiah Bond.
To Bond, yeah.
He hit down the middle for about 57 yards. And at that point, I was like, oh, wow, like he's going to keep chucking it deep. And boy, did he. I mean, he hit a few of them, but he also threw into kind of two high safeties a couple times. I think he threw into triple coverage one time way down the field. So just one of those things where Sarkisian, he even talked about it. Like he's like, maybe we should have kind of built in some more of those more shallow crossing patterns, kind of like those mesh concepts over the middle. Maybe something that's going to get sort of like a man beater kind of routes in coverage where Arch can, make like a 5-yard completion and then let their athletic receivers turn it into, the big play. So it just seemed like one of those things, like he hit that first big one. I was like, oh, wow, he's got the fever now. Like he's going to keep just chucking it deep.
And Sark, he's going to put it all on himself. But the other point is obviously Arch always has the option any quarter. You can check it down.
Right.
You can throw it away if things aren't going well and you're under a little bit of pressure and maybe you're not able to step into a throw. So, it's a combination. But I would expect if he gets the start against Saturday, I would expect it'll look a little bit different, and I think maybe it'll slow down. It's funny, he said the game felt long, yet it kind of felt sped up for him at times.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
The old expression, slow the game down. But that's one component of a pretty well-rounded team we've seen through 4 ball games here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously the defense played extremely well again. Not keeping Louisiana Monroe out of the end zone. They only give them that field goal there. I believe that came right off the first interception is when they kicked that field goal. And then they end up missing a field goal near halftime. Bad snap, kick gets blocked. But Defense has been playing tremendous. Anthony Hill had an interception. He's been playing just some big boy football for the Longhorns this season.
Yeah, he's been what they, I'm sure, hoped with the Jalen Ford moving on.
Sure.
And he had to not so much take on a different position moving inside, but maybe just a different mentality as being a second-year guy, having to get the calls, and also just kind of being a leader and doing more than see ball, hit ball. But yeah, he's been outstanding. And how about Leonga Lafau, the young linebacker who a little bit undersized, but he had a big ball game against ULM on Saturday night. So a lot of guys are playing well. I know everybody's wondering the same thing. What happens when this team gets into a fourth quarter game? I know the Longhorns would like that not to be the case on Saturday against a Mississippi State team that's going to come in with a freshman quarterback. Blake Shapen's out for the year, the former Baylor quarterback. So they did announce today Michael Van Buren, true freshman who spelled him in the loss to Florida, has been named the starter. They're already undermanned. They've lost all 3 of their games to FBS teams. Eastern Kentucky is their only win. So an interesting opener for Texas from that perspective as they get a Mississippi State team. First-year head coach, now freshman quarterback that's kind of limping in here, and they've been giving up almost 40 a game to their 3 FBS opponents.
Right, yeah, they lost to Florida, 45-28, something like that. And Florida's offense really hadn't been great up until that point, but I guess Florida got their get-right game with Mississippi State. And, you know, as we've mentioned, Blake Shapen is hurt. He's done for the season, so I kind of have to think that Kwiatkowski there is going to be dialing up some heavy blitz and pressures for that freshman quarterback to try to figure out.
Yeah, no doubt. They're going to try to confuse him, make him uncomfortable. I don't know how comfortable he'll be anyway. Sark did point out that, you know, when he got here a few years ago, he joked that the crowd showed up, but they were kind of figuring out what they had with this new coaching staff and team. And now he feels like this is a weapon, the home field advantage, and wants to see it again alive on Saturday afternoon to close out this 3-game homestand. So I think they'll help in making Van Buren uncomfortable. Jeff Lebby, who comes from the Lyles tree, so he'll spread it out and go fast and knows the Texas program because of his time at Baylor. But they've been really struggling. Got whacked by Toledo pretty good. Played their closest FBS game to Arizona State, lost by 3. So Texas obviously going to be a big favorite going into this one, regardless if it's Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss to not point out Jaden Blue's tremendous game on the ground against Louisiana Monroe. 124 yards, I believe, 3 rushing touchdowns, added a receiving touchdown in there. Granted, they weren't for any long length of touchdowns, but I mean, you get in the end zone, and Jaden Blue has, I think last night he kind of proved he can be that 20-25 carry guy when they need him to be.
Yeah, and remember, he kind of got one stolen when Jarrett Gibson came in for him down on the goal line. He did all the heavy lifting down to the goal line, but I think he carried it 3 straight times. Yeah. So they gave him a breather, and Gibson came in and got a touchdown. But and Sark said today that Jaden Blue went to him after the game and said, I can play better. But he's also talked about the mission in the offseason, get bigger, get stronger, get more durable. And that certainly paid off. I think a lot of people are surprised. Not only is he back, but carrying it 25 times. Now they want to see the burst, and his longest run is 20. They want to see one of those 50, 60-yard runs and take a little stress off of the offense having to drive when you can hit those home run balls with the ground game. We've seen them obviously with the pass game.
And that 20-yard run came in that drive where I think he racked up probably close to 40, 45 yards on the ground in that drive alone. And then Jarrett came in and cleaned up with that 2-yard touchdown. So, Jane will get his. Yeah, he's going to get his carries and he's going to get his yards. He always talks about learning behind Jonathan Brooks and seeing how kind of Brooks' career sort of unfolded. He didn't play a ton. Obviously, he was behind 2 guys named Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson. So it was tough for Brooks to get into the mix there early in his career. Brooks finally gets his shot, goes for over 1,000. He's playing the NFL now. Jaden Blue is kind of sort of taking that same path as Jonathan Brooks here.
Yeah, and Sark's got a pretty good track record with his running backs. So I think that's an attractive thing. And Jarrett Gibson was a big-time recruit. And I know no C.J. Baxter and no Christian Clark, but Gibson was a guy that was going to be productive, probably regardless if those guys were there or not. They just could spread the wealth a little bit more. But yeah, running backs. I don't think he'll ever have trouble getting running backs and getting wide receivers and getting quarterbacks. It's the big guys that gets everybody worked up on all the fan sites on are they getting enough offensive and defensive linemen in their recruiting classes.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, 3:15 on Saturday, Texas plays its first ever Southeastern Conference football game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs here at DKR.
I still remember, Billy, July 21st, 2021, when the word broke that Texas was going to the SEC, and everybody in this building said, "What?" Here we go, full circle.
Yep, it's here. It's happening. And then after Mississippi State, they're on a bye week, and then it's Red River rivalry time, Red River Showdown, whatever they're calling it these days. So we'll have more on that later. But we're going to end it here for this episode of the Horns Report. For Roger Wallace, I'm Billy Gates. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again very soon.